Hello my dear friends. So friends, in the previous session we started discussion about a beautiful chapter that is nothing but our place of supply, in which we have done some good amount of discussion, and especially we completed discussion about how do we determine place of supply in case of goods. Correct, right? But we still do have lot more interesting points to talk in this beautiful topic called place of supply. So we'll proceed and take it forward. Are we all ready? Yes, I'm also ready to discuss a lot of interesting points. Let's proceed and move forward. Come on. So friends, tell me now, what is the answer for Section 7? Come on, quick. Section 7 of CGST Act, that is nothing but supply. Section 8, composite supply and mixed supply. Now let me ask you other question now. What is Section 7 of IGST Act? Section 7 of IGST Act deals with the concept of what is interstate supply, and Section 8 talks about what is intrastate supply. And major point to be kept in mind is that if the location of supplier and the place of supply both are in same state, we call it as intrastate supply. But if the location of supplier and place of supply both are in different state, then we call it as interstate supply. And what difference it makes is that for intrastate supply we charge CGST and SGST, whereas in case of interstate supply we charge something called IGST. So what kind of tax to be charged, I repeat one more time, what kind of tax to be charged will be based on the type of supply, my dear friends. And it is very important that you charge the correct tax, because by any chance if you charge the wrong tax, then gone. Two issues will come. Issue number one, supplier, if tax wrongfully corrected and paid, then he must pay correct tax to the government and claim refund of tax wrongfully paid. I told this first issue. Second issue is that a recipient or a registered person in one state, he can claim input tax credit of CGST, SGST paid in the same state, and he can also take credit of IGST paid, but he can never take credit of CGST, SGST paid in different state. I taught you this point, and I highlighted that point also too very clearly. I gave an example where SHIVA TEJA, who is basically a registered person in Telangana state, I went to Bengaluru, and in Bengaluru I stayed in a hotel, and hotel charged me CGST and SGST. Can I take credit? Answer is no. And if I even request the hotel to charge IGST, they don't do that, because it is the utmost responsibility of the supplier to properly determine place of supply. Clear, right? Good. And friends, what is Section 9 of IGST Act? It talks about where if the location of supplier or the place of supply is in territorial waters, then it is treated as if it is in the coastal state or UT, as if it is in the coastal state or UT, where the nearest point of appropriate baseline is located. In the coastal state or UT, where the nearest point of appropriate baseline is located, my dear friends. Very, very interesting point. Makes sense, my dear friends? Good. Other sides, my dear friends, in IGST Act, I clearly told you that we have got Section 10, 11, 12, 13, which deals with the concept of place of supply. And I clearly told you that Section 10 will apply in case of place of supply in case of goods, and 11 applies in case of place of supply for goods imported or exported, and 12 applies in case where place of supply for services, where the location of supplier and the location of recipient, location of supplier and location of recipient both are in India. Location of supplier, location of recipient both are in India. And Section 13 deals with place of supply in case of services, where the location of supplier or the location of recipient is outside India. So one of them is outside India, then Section 13 will apply. And if both of them are in India, then Section 12 will apply, my dear friends. Please get complete clarity of thought. Section 12 will apply only when supplier and recipient both are in India. But if one of them is in outside India, Section 12 will not apply, Section 13 will apply. Extremely important concept, friends. Makes sense, right? Come on. So friends, in IGST Act, Section 10 is already over in the previous session. Let's once recall. I clearly taught you that we have got 10.1 and 10.2. In 10.2 nothing is there. 10.2 says only one line. If place of supply cannot be determined under Section 10.1, I repeat one more time, 10.2 says if the place of supply cannot be determined under section 10(1), then it is determined in such manner as may be prescribed. I repeat one more time, friends. 10(2) clearly says, if the place of supply cannot be determined under section 10(1), then it is determined in such manner as may be prescribed. And 10(1), already they gave some points where we have got 10(1)A, 10(1)B, 10(1)C, 10(1)D and 10(1)E. Correct, right? Come on, friends. And what does 10(1)A talk about? 10(1)A applies in case where place of supply, in case where there is movement of goods, where law clearly told place of supply will be the place where movement of goods terminates. Terminates means what? Stops. Place of supply will be the place where movement of goods terminates for delivery to the recipient. So place of supply will be the place where movement of goods terminates, that is stops, for delivery to the recipient. Clear, right? Then 10(1)B talks about a case where goods are supplied by supplier to the recipient. 10(1)B talks about a case where goods are supplied by supplier to the recipient on the instructions of a third person. One more time I repeat, sir. 10(1)B will apply in case where goods are supplied by supplier to the recipient on the instructions of third person. Where the answer is very clear that, what is the answer, my dear friends, for 10(1)B? Come on. 10(1)B, the answer is very clear that principal place of business of such third person. I gave some wonderful example, story of Rahul, story of Gandhi as well as Amit. Clear, right? Sir, I'm sure we got good clarity with that. Makes sense? Come on, please do reply. Very good. Then what is 10(1)C, my dear friends? 10(1)C talks about a case where place of supply, in case where there is no movement of goods, where law clearly told the answer is very simple. That is nothing but location of goods at the time of delivery to the recipient. Location of goods at the time of delivery to the recipient. And 10(1)D talks about place of supply in case where goods are assembled or installed, and place of supply will be the place of such installation or assembly. That's it. 10(1)E talks about goods supplied on board a conveyance, and for that, my dear friends, place of supply will be the place where goods are taken on board. So where the person entered, where the supplier entered, where the recipient entered, that is not relevant. The only thing relevant is the place where goods are taken on board. The place where what, my dear friends? Goods are taken on board, that becomes place of supply under section 10(1)E, sir. That's it. These are the interesting points what we covered in 10(1)A to 10(1)E, sir. Clear? So can I proceed and move forward? Sir, reply please. Done. Let me move forward. So let me start discussion about, my dear friends, section 11. And 11 talks about imports and exports. Very, very simple section. It will take only 2 minutes. Nothing is there in this. 11 has got 11A and also 11B, my dear friends. 11A says, in case of import of goods, in case of what, my dear friends? Import of goods. One more time I repeat, in case of what, my dear friends? Import of goods. Come on, friends, what is the language we used, sir? In case of import of goods. Come on, please look at that, sir. In case of what, my dear friends? Import of goods. POS would be the location of importer. I repeat one more time, my dear friends. 11A clearly says, in case of import of goods, in case of what, my dear friends? Import of goods, place of supply would be location of importer. So in case of import of goods, law clearly told that place of supply will be what, my dear friends? The location of importer. The location of importer will become place of supply in case of what, my dear friends? Import of goods. Other side, 11b talks about something called in case of export of goods. And for export of goods, my dear friends, law clearly told a simple answer where they told place of supply would be location outside India. That means wherever you are exporting, that becomes a place of supply. So if you are exporting goods from Hyderabad to Japan, or let's say you are exporting goods from India to Korea, North Korea, exactly, then what is the answer, my dear friends? Place of supply will be North Korea. But one thing to be kept in mind is that for import of goods, it is a location of importer. But for export of goods, it is place outside India. So for example, if let's say Mr. X of Andhra Pradesh imported goods, let me write here. Mr. X is basically in AP. He imported goods. There is one person called Mr. Mike. Mike is of US, and from Mike, what X has done is X has basically imported goods. Come on, my dear friends, what will become place of supply? Place of supply is nothing but Andhra Pradesh. Now, one point is very clear, my dear friends. Whenever we talk about imports, on imports also we have to pay GST, sir, because imports is clearly regarded as interstate supply. On imports, of course, if it is goods, we also pay something called customs duty also. That is why when we do import of goods, we pay something called BCD. We also pay something called IGST. BCD is nothing but basic customs duty, and IGST, of course, we know integrated GST. Both we pay, my dear friends. Other side, let's say there is one person called Mr. A who belongs to Gujarat. A of Gujarat exported goods to Mr. Kim. A of Gujarat exported goods to Mr. Kim of Korea. Come on, my dear friends. What is the language I wrote, sir? Mr. A of what, my dear friends? Gujarat. He exported goods to Mr. Kim of Korea. Come on, friends. In this example, what will become place of supply? Place of supply is nothing but Korea. Because in case of export of goods, place of supply will clearly be location outside India. That's all, my dear friends. Very, very simple, and no exaggeration to tell you that section 11 is over. In 11, nothing is there. In 11, the only thing required to know is all about for imports, it is location of importer, and for exports, it is location outside India. That's it. Very, very simple. Clear, right? Come on, don't relax now. Please do write. Please write. Come on. 11 is divided into 11A and 11B. 11A clearly says in case of import of goods, place of supply would be location of importer. And in case of export of goods, place of supply will be location outside India. So wherever goods are going, that becomes place of supply. Come on, friends, please finish writing. Done. The table is over. So below the table, my dear friends, take this example also, so that you will have complete clarity of thought. Please take the two examples what I gave. One example is related to what, my dear friends? One example is related to import of goods. Other example is related to export of goods. And for imports, what is the answer? For imports, the answer is straight away location of importer. And for exports, the answer is straight away location outside India. Clear, right? Done. So friends, that is the end of story for what, my dear friends? Section 11. And with this discussion, we are done with the story of section 10 and we are also done with the story of section 11, and both are related to goods only. Section 10 is place of supply related to goods and 11 basically is place of supply related to goods imported or exported. And in section 10, what law clearly told the answer as what, my dear friends? 10(1)(a), place of supply in case where there is movement of goods. 10(1)(b), goods supplied by supplier to recipient on the instructions of third person. 10(1)(c), no movement of goods. 10(1)(d), goods assembled or installed at site. 10(1)(e), my dear friends, goods supplied on board a conveyance. And 11 talks about imports and exports, where for imports the answer is location of importer and for exports the answer is location outside India. That's it, my dear friends. I'm sure we got full clarity, sir. Come on, let's proceed. So friends, let me open the material once. This is our module 1, my dear friends, which you already have, either in soft copy or in hard copy form. It's already there with you, my dear friends. In this, I'm opening the chapter of place of supply. Page number 65. Place of what, my dear friends? Supply. Clear, right? Now, I want you to listen to this introduction part, what I wrote there. That is my language, what I have written. So, I want you to read that once. Come on, see now. The concept of place of supply is given by section 10 to 13 of IGST Act. That is chapter 5 of IGST Act, my dear friends. Then, place of supply provisions determine the place that is taxable jurisdiction. Very important language. Taxable jurisdiction where the tax should reach. So where the tax should go, that is clearly given by place of supply. Next, place of supply and the location of supply are the two determinants to ascertain the nature of supply. That is whether a supply is intrastate supply or interstate supply. In other words, these two factors are required to determine whether a supply is subjected to CGST or subjected to SGST or UTGST plus CGST in a given state or UT, or else would attract IGST if it is intrastate supply. Now see the below line what I wrote, sir, important. If an intrastate transaction is wrongly treated, I repeat one more time, wrongly treated as intrastate or vice versa, and the tax is paid accordingly, what will happen then? The correct tax will need to be paid and refund claim for tax wrongly paid. Though no interest is levied in such a case, procedural requirements would increase and the working capital gets blocked where the amount involved is huge. I already taught you this point. If instead of paying CGST, SGST, you paid IGST, or instead of paying IGST, you paid CGST, SGST, then pay the correct tax and claim refund of wrong tax. Hence, determining correct place of supply is of paramount importance. Paramount means huge importance. Then, determination of place of supply of goods is not much complicated. That is why we finish so easily. As compared to place of supply of services, since services are intangible and can be provided from anywhere and anytime. That is why we are going to spend a lot of time on services. Goods, what is there, sir? So simple. We finished easily. But services will take some sweet time. Clear, right? Wonderful. And I discussed the story of section 10 already with you. Section 10 is what, sir? Place of supply for goods. In this, see some examples, sir. Example, first one for 10(1)(a. In case of supply of goods, supply of goods by X of Mumbai to Y of Delhi. place of supply shall be equal to what, my dear friends? Location at the time of termination of movement for delivery to the recipient, that is Y, which is equal to Delhi. Clear, friends? Come on. Next example you see. If X Limited of Mumbai, what, my dear friends? X Limited of Mumbai supplied goods to Y Limited of Delhi. X Limited of Delhi, X Limited of Mumbai, I repeat one more time, X Limited of Mumbai supplied goods to Y Limited of Delhi on the directions of Z Limited of Chennai. So who instructed whom? Z Limited instructed X Limited to supply to Y Limited. Sir, Z Limited instructed X Limited to supply to Y Limited. So this is clearly a case where goods are supplied by supplier to the recipient on the instructions of the third person. Where I clearly taught you that in that case, my dear friends, place of supply will be principal place of business of such third person. Otherwise, we will see where Z Limited is located. That is nothing but Chennai. See the answer now, come on. If X Limited of Mumbai supplies goods to Y Limited of Delhi on directions of Z Limited of Chennai, acting as agent or otherwise, then Z Limited will be deemed to be recipient and place of supply will be location of Z, that is nothing but Chennai. Clear, right? Good. Then 10(1)(c) example. See now, XZ Limited Mumbai Maharashtra opens a new branch office at Gurugram, Haryana. It purchased a building for office from KTS Builders Gurugram along with pre-installed office furniture and fixtures. I taught you the same example actually. Places were different, but example was same. Though there will be no GST liability on purchase of building, office furnitures and fixtures will be liable to GST. And since there is no movement of office furniture and fixture, place of supply of such goods is their location at the time of delivery to the recipient. We will see what, my dear friends? Location at the time of delivery to the recipient. That is nothing but Gurugram. 10(1)(c), my dear friends, where there is no movement of goods. Place where? Location of goods at the time of delivery to the recipient. Next, friends, 10(1)(d) example. If X Limited of Hyderabad supplied goods to Y Limited of Hyderabad by installation or assembly at a site of Y Limited at Delhi, then place of supply without any second thought will be Delhi, my dear friends. Because 10(1)(d) says in case where goods are assembled or installed at site, then place of supply will be the place where goods are assembled or installed. Next, one more example. In relation to 10(1)(e), my dear friends. If the flight departs from Mumbai to Chennai and the food is supplied during flight means what? Goods are supplied on board a conveyance to the passenger, then place of supply of food will be Mumbai, because obviously when the flight is going from Mumbai to Chennai, high possibility that food is taken on board in Mumbai only. Clear, right? Because in case where goods are supplied on board a conveyance, place of supply will be the place where goods are taken on boats. Then next example, friends. Mr. X in New Delhi boards New Delhi to Kota train. He's boarded what train, my dear friends? New Delhi to Kota train at New Delhi. Very good. He sells the goods taken on board by him at New Delhi. So where did he take on board? He has taken on board at New Delhi. At Jaipur during train journey. He sold at Jaipur, but goods entered the train in New Delhi. Now place of supply of goods is the location at which goods are taken on board, that is New Delhi, and not Jaipur where it is sold. So it is not material where it is sold. What is material is only the place where goods are taken on board. That is in this example, it is nothing but New Delhi, friends. Clear, right? Very important. Then 10(2) says where place of supply of goods cannot be determined in such manner as may be prescribed. Already I taught you this language. And section 11, sir, imported or exported. Come on, what is the answer? Place of supply for goods imported into India shall be the location of importer. And for goods exported outside India, location outside India. Clear, friends? Speak out. Wonderful. That's it. That is what is the story of section 10 and 11. So friends, before I proceed and move forward, let me discuss some multiple choice question because it's interesting and important. Please see that. Zero rated supply includes what? I clearly told you, my dear friends, zero rated supply covers two things: exports and supplies to SEZ. Export is zero rated supply, supplies to SEZ is also zero rated supply. By SEZ is not zero rated. So answer is option A and B. Sir, in this context, my dear friends, I clearly taught you that zero rated supply covers two things. Number one, exports. Number two, supplies to SEZ. And why we call them as zero rated supplies? Because on this, no output tax, but ITC can be claimed. Sir, exempted supply is different, zero rated supply is different, and the basic fundamental difference is that exempted supplies are those supplies on which we do not pay output tax, and moreover we cannot claim input tax credit. But zero rated supplies are those on which we do not pay output tax, but we can still claim input tax credit. That is a major difference what you have to observe there. Clear, right? Next, question number 2. Which of the following supply involving movement of goods is an intrastate supply? To call it as intra, location of supplier and place of supply both should be in same state. See now, location of supplier is in Kerala, place of supply is in Tamil Nadu. No, it is intrastate supply. Location of supplier is in Karnataka, place of supply also is Karnataka. Very good. Then 100% we will call it as intrastate supply. Third one, location of supplier is Kerala, place of supply is Andhra Pradesh. That is also intrastate supply. So answer is option B, my dear friends. So like this question will come in exam. Then place of supply in case of installation of elevator. What is the answer? The place where elevator is installed. Clear, right? Next. Fourth question. See that. In case of an ambiguity where place of supply of goods cannot be determined, then who will determine place of supply? I clearly told in the manner as may be prescribed. This point is clearly given by section 10.2, which says that if place of supply cannot be determined under section 10.1, then it is determined in such manner as may be prescribed. Then, what is the location of supply in case of importation of goods? Without any doubt, location of importer. Clear, right? Now, sixth question I will not talk because they are related to services, my dear friends. Come on, see some examples, friends. Mr. Karan from New Delhi, Karan from where, sir? New Delhi, purchases a laptop from electronic store in UP, and the laptop is delivered by the shop owner to Karan's residence in New Delhi. Then what will happen, my dear friends? Place of supply will be New Delhi, as laptop has been delivered in New Delhi. No doubt about it. Next. Karan from New Delhi purchased a laptop from electronic store in UP, and Karan takes delivery of laptop in UP itself and brings it to New Delhi in his own car. If you observe, my dear friends, the movement of goods terminated in UP itself. That means the contract between supplier and recipient came to end in UP itself. I agree to the fact that recipient is bringing the goods to Delhi, but ultimately the responsibility or the relationship or the contract between supplier and recipient completed in UP itself. So place of supply is UP itself, as laptop was in UP at the time of delivery of the laptop. Third example, Virat purchases a laptop to be installed in their New Delhi office from vendor in Haryana. No doubt the answer is New Delhi. Because of 10(1) sir, in case of goods assembled or installed, place of supply will be the place where goods are assembled or installed. Then Atul boards a flight from Mumbai to Bengaluru and purchases a bottle of water in the flight during journey. As the bottle was purchased on board the plane, place of supply will be, sir, it's not Bengaluru, we will take it as Mumbai. That is place where goods are taken on board. Obviously, my dear friends, when the flight is going from Mumbai to Bengaluru, no doubt about it, goods would have definitely been taken on board at where, my dear friends? Mumbai only. Logical point. You should not tell, sir, what if flight which started from Mumbai to Bengaluru, in Bangalore it is taken on board, then it is supplied in Bengaluru, then the answer is Bengaluru. But general assumption is not like that. General assumption is always Mumbai only. Clear, right? Next, example number 5. A trader in consumer durables has a sales outlet in Gurgaon, Haryana and a godown in Delhi. Very good. Resident of Delhi goes to Gurgaon outlet, buys an AC and instructs that delivery be made at his residence in Delhi. Next, Gurgaon office arranges for delivery of AC from its what godown? Delhi godown. So what has happened, my dear friends? Gurgaon office instructed Gurgaon office, what they have done, my dear friends? Instructed Delhi godown to supply to customer. So it's clearly a case where 3 parties are involved. So obviously we will apply something called 10(1)(b), my dear friends. Now see there, this transaction involves 2 IGST supplies. That is Gurgaon outlet to Delhi resident, Gurgaon outlet to what, my dear friends? Delhi resident, and Delhi godown to Gurgaon outlet. Goods were never delivered to Gurgaon store but were directly delivered from Delhi store to Delhi buyer. However, as the Delhi godown has delivered the goods to the customer, on the instructions of the Gurgaon store third person, it will be deemed that Gurgaon store has received and delivered the supplies to the customer. And obviously place of supply will be Gurgaon, because when the goods are supplied by supplier to the recipient on the instructions of the third person, then place of supply will be principal place of business of such third person. That's all. Next, those all questions are based on services. Questions you see, my dear friends. First question. What is the place of supply where goods are removed? That means where there is a movement of goods. We apply something called 10(1)(a), where we say that in case where there is movement of goods, place of supply will be the place where movement of goods terminates for delivery to the recipient. Second bit, what will be place of supply if the goods are delivered by supplier to a person on the directions of the third person? Then we'll apply something called 10(1)(b), my dear friends. If the goods are supplied by supplier to the recipient on the instructions of the third person, then place of supply will be principal place of business of such third person. That's all. Next, 3, 4, 5, 6 we'll talk later. Look at this, my dear friends. Come on. Question number 11, sir. See that Priyank of Pune, Maharashtra enters into an agreement to sell goods to Bisht of Bareilly, Uttar Pradesh. Very good. While the goods were being packed in Pune godown of Priyank, Pune godown of what, sir? Priyank, Bisht got an order from Sahil of Shimoga, Karnataka for the said goods. So Bisht agreed for supply of said goods to Sahil and asked Priyank to deliver the goods to Sahil at Shimoga. Correct, my dear friends? Sir, speak out, sir. Sir, very, very interesting point, my dear friends. Sir, please observe very clearly. Priyank delivered the goods to Sahil. Correct or not? Listen now. Sir, there is somebody called Priyank and somebody known as Sahil. And there is somebody called Bist. And actually what has happened is Bist instructed Priyank to send the goods to Sahil. Correct or not, my dear friends? Exactly. Sir, originally what has happened? Priyank of Pune entered into agreement to sell the goods to Bist of Bareilly, Uttar Pradesh. And when the goods were being packed in Pune godown of Priyank, Bist got an order from Sahil of Shimoga, Karnataka for the said goods. And Bist agreed to supply the goods to Sahil and asked Priyank to deliver the goods to Sahil at Shimoga. So you need to observe that clearly there are three parties involved. And obviously which section will apply is section 10(1)(b). Goods are supplied by supplier to recipient on the instructions of third person. So you have to apply the concept very properly, then only answer the question. So when you read something like this paragraph, put it in a simple diagram format. Your things will become easy. Clear, right? Come on. Bist is where, sir? He is in UP. Priyank is in Maharashtra and Sahil is in Karnataka, my dear friends. Clear, right? Come on. First point. Supply made by Priyank is a build to ship to model. Is what model, my dear friends? Build to ship to model, because very clearly the goods are billed to whom? Goods are billed to Bist, but they are delivered to Sahil of Karnataka. So it's definitely called as build to ship to model. And as per section 10(1)(b), my dear friends, place of supply would be UP, sir. Why it is UP? Because even though goods are sent by Priyank to Sahil, otherwise even though goods are sent from Maharashtra to Karnataka, goods are being sent by Priyank to Sahil only upon the instructions of Bist of UP. So in that case, my dear friends, 10(1)(b) clearly says if the goods are supplied by supplier to the recipient on the instructions of the third person, then place of supply will be principal place of business of such third person. So automatically place of supply will be UP, my dear friends. And moreover, sir, Bist also Bist is also, come on friends, what is the language, my dear friends? Bist is also required to issue invoice. Come on, my dear friends. Bist is also required to issue invoice. Obviously, Bist is also required to issue invoice to Sahil. And for that, my dear friends, for that, POS would be as per section 10(1)(a), and that is, my dear friends, Karnataka. Why Karnataka? Because POS, in case where there is movement of goods, shall be the place where movement of goods terminates for a delivery to the recipient. Sir, I taught you all this point, my dear friends. In fact, same example already I gave. Correct or not? Mr. Rahul, Mr. Gandhi, Mr. Amit, same example I gave, sir. And this question came in exam for 4 marks. Very scoring. But you need to present properly to get your 4 marks. If you throw the answer just like that, you will not get your marks. So it is very important that you present properly, and if you present properly, full scores will come. No doubt about it. But please ensure and also make sure that you write very properly, my dear friends. Don't throw the answer. You should never throw the answer. That's very important that you present very properly, my dear friends. Clear? Good. Take the answer, come on. This is the story of that question, my dear friends, of Priyank, Sahil and Bist. Clear, friends? Can I proceed then? Done. Let me go back. That's where, my dear friends, so smartly they gave question. You are required to determine place of supply or supplies. That is because there are two supplies here, where we have to apply 10(1)A also and 10(1)B also. Such an interesting point, my dear friends. Getting clarity, sir? Come on, next. 12th one, 13th one, that is related to services. 14th also related to services only. 15, 16, 17, everything is services, sir. Don't worry. Yeah, 18th question we can see, sir. Asha Enterprises, supplier of sewing machine, some goods, is located in Kota, Rajasthan and registered for the purpose of GST in the state. Very good. It receives an order from deep traders located in Jalandhar, Punjab. Very good. And registered for the purpose of GST in that state. And order is for supply of 100 sewing machines with an instruction to ship the sewing machines to Jyoti Sons located in Patiala, Punjab and registered in the said state for the purpose of GST. Jyoti Sons is a customer of Deep Traders. Sewing machines are being shipped in a lorry by Asha Enterprises. So that is clearly a case of build to ship to model, where place of supply is dealt by some wonderful section called section 10(1)B. Correct, right? Come on. Briefly explain the following. Number one, what will be the place of supply? Come on. Place of supply will definitely be Punjab, my dear friends. That too, it is Jalandhar, Punjab. Because in case where goods are supplied by supplier to the recipient on the instructions of the third person, what will happen, my dear friends? Place of supply will be principal place of business of such third person. Correct, right? Come on. So what did they ask? Briefly determine place of supply. Already we determined. What is nature of supply? Inter or intra? Supplier is in Rajasthan, receiver is in Punjab. So we'll call it as interstate supply. And what we will charge? Obviously we will charge IGST. No doubt about it. Clear, right? Speak out. And for place of supply from whom, my dear friends? From Deep to Jyoti. For this, my dear friends, place of supply will be Punjab and nature of supply will be intrastate supply, and definitely we will charge CGST and SGST. So there are two transactions involved here. You should get that clarity very clearly, that there are two transactions here. Clear, right? Done. Next, 19th question is also on services, friends. Then 20th question. See that. Raman Row, a registered supplier under GST in Mumbai, is directed by Nero Enterprises. Directed means what? Instructed to deliver goods value in 12 lakhs to Fabricana, Aurangabad in Maharashtra. Raman Row makes out the invoice at 9% tax under CGST and SGST and delivers it locally in Maharashtra. Discuss and comment on the above levy of tax and determine the liability of the goods. So very clearly, sir, there is somebody called Raman Row who is in Maharashtra, and Raman Row has sent the goods to Fabricana, who is also in Maharashtra. But one point to be observed very clearly is that Raman Row has sent the goods to Fabricana of Maharashtra on the instructions of what, my dear friends? Nero Enterprises. Nero Enterprises, which is in Kolkata, my dear friends, has instructed Raman Row. Nero Enterprises of Kolkata instructed Raman Row to send the goods to where, my dear friends? Fabricana. And very clearly, my dear friends, we all know the fact that we'll apply something called which section, my dear friends? We'll apply a beautiful section called section 10(1)(b), and we say that place of supply is Kolkata, my dear friends. And what kind of tax will be charged should be IGST, because location of supplier is in Maharashtra and place of supply is in Kolkata. Then what kind of tax will come is IGST but not CGST and SGST. Clear, right? It's a very interesting point, friends. No doubt about it. Very, very important, sir. Clear? That's all. This is what is the end of story for 10(1)(b) and this question. And this is what is the end of story for questions related to place of supply in case of goods. So don't think that story is over. The only story over is place of supply in relation to goods, my dear friends. But we still have lot more interesting points to talk in relation to place of supply for services, and that of course will take lot time. No doubt about it. Clear? Done. So let's start discussion about place of supply in case of services. So friends, that's the end of story for which section, my dear friends? Section 10 and section 11, which deals with the concept of place of supply in case of goods. Now, without any delay, let's start discussion about the place of supply in case of services, my dear friends. Are we ready, sir? Come on, let's start. So friends, first we are going to talk about section 12, and after that we'll talk about section 13. And let me tell you very clearly, my dear friends, that in section 12, we have got 12(1) to section 12(14), my dear friends. So many subsections are there. 12(1) to what, my dear friends? 12(14). That will take some sweet time. Come on, please concentrate. So first one, come on. So friends, first, section 12(1) clearly says some interesting language. Kindly please listen. Sir, in section 12 we have got 12(1) to 12(14). So many subsections are there. It will take some sweet time. So kindly please concentrate and focus. Come on. 12(1) clearly says, provisions of section 12, I repeat one more time, provisions of section 12 will apply. Provisions of section 12 will apply only if location of supplier, I repeat one more time, my dear friends, kindly please listen. Provisions of which section, my dear friends? Provision of section 12 will apply only if location of supplier and location of recipient is in India. Come on, my dear friends, very, very interesting language. Provisions of which section, sir? Provision of section 12 will apply only if location of supplier and location of recipient is in India. That means section 12(1) will apply, section 12 will apply only when supplier recipient both are in India. If one of them is outside India, let me tell you very clearly, section 12 will not apply, but section 13 will apply. Clear, right? Good. Then section 12(2) is basically something like a general rule, my dear friends. 12(2) is something like what rule, my dear friends? General rule, which says very clearly something like this. Provisions of section 12(2) would apply. Come on, friends, I repeat one more time. Provisions of which section, my dear friends? Provisions of section 12(2) would apply for services not covered under section 12(3) to 12(14). Come on, friends, I repeat one more time. 12(2) is what rule, sir? 12(2) basically deals with general rule, which clearly says that provisions of 12(2) would apply. Provisions of 12(2) would apply for services which are not covered by 12(3) to 12(14). Sir, one point is very clear. 12(2) is something like general rule, and 12(3), 12(4), 12(5), 12(6), they are all specific. Something like 12(3) talks about immovable property. 12(4) talks about restaurant and catering services. 12(5) training and performance appraisal. Like this, specific subsection has got a specific purpose. Now, for something which is not covered by, which is not covered by 12.3 to 12.14 will apply provisions of 12.2, my dear friends. For example, sir, for chartered accountancy service, other words, for services given by chartered accountant, there is no specific rule. When there is no specific rule, what will happen? General rule will apply. Now, what is the general rule? Listen very clearly. Concentrate, friends. General rule goes something like this. General rule goes something like this. Recipient is a registered person or recipient is unregistered person. Clear, right? Now what law told here is that if a recipient is a registered person, place of supply would be location of such person. Come on, my dear friends, what is the language we wrote, sir? If recipient is a registered person, if recipient is a registered person, then place of supply will be location of such person. That means wherever he is registered. Getting clarity, right? Other side, if recipient is unregistered person, recipient is what, sir? Unregistered person, then they told something interesting here. Now what is that they told? Kindly please listen. Address on record exist. Address on record, what, my dear friends? Exist. That means recipient address is there on the records of supplier. I repeat one more time. Recipient address is there on records of supplier. Now for this, my dear friends, if the answer is yes, then place of supply will be location of recipient. Other side, if answer is no, come on, my dear friends, I repeat one more time. Other side, if the answer is no, my dear friends, what will happen is that place of supply will be location of supplier. Come on, my dear friends, something very interesting, please concentrate. If receiver is a registered person, if receiver is what, my dear friends? A registered person, then place of supply will be location of such person. But if recipient is unregistered person, then we look at something called address on record exist or not. And if address on record exist, my dear friends, I repeat one more time, if address on record exist, then place of supply will be location of recipient. If address on record exist, what is the answer, friends? Place of supply will be location of recipient. And by any chance, if address on record does not exist, address on record what's there does not exist, then place of supply will be location of supplier. I'll give you a complete clarity on this by giving some wonderful examples. Don't worry. Come on. Please concentrate, guys. Listen carefully, sir. Sir, there is one company called Tata Limited. Or let's say, for example, there is a company called Reliance Limited. They own a BMW car. I repeat one more time. They own a what car, my dear friends? They own a BMW car. Correct, my dear friends? Come on, speak out. Now let me tell you one point. Reliance Limited is basically a registered person in Maharashtra. And they own a BMW car. That means car is on company name. Car is on what name, my dear friends? Company name. Now listen. This particular BMW car is sent for servicing. I repeat one more time, friends. This BMW car is sent for what, my dear friends? Servicing to BMW Motors in Goa, who is a registered person in Goa. Now you might get one doubt, sir, why is that the car is sent to Goa for repairs? Why can't they get repaired in Maharashtra itself? They can get in Maharashtra itself, but some particular problem was there in that car which can be repaired only in Goa. Clear, right? So what has happened here? Reliance Limited owns one BMW car, and that BMW car is sent for servicing to BMW Motors in Goa, which is the registered person in Goa. So now my question to you very clearly is that, who is supplier, my dear friends? Supplier is nothing but BMW Motors. Supplier is nothing but what, my dear friends? BMW Motors, who are registered person in where, my dear friends? Goa. And recipient is nothing but Reliance Limited, which is a registered person in Maharashtra. Registered person in where, my dear friends? Maharashtra. And very clearly, my dear friends, the nature of service is basically repair of car. Repair of what, my dear friends? Car. And one point is very clear, my dear friends, that repair of car, for kind of repair activity, there is no specific entry anywhere in 12.3 to 12.14. So when it is not there in 12.3 to 12.14, what will you do, my dear friends? We will apply something called general rule. And as per general rule, which section, my dear friends? Section 12.2. Without any second thought, my dear friends, place of supply would be Maharashtra, since if the recipient is a registered person, since if the recipient is what person, my dear friends? Registered person. If the recipient is a registered person, then very clearly, my dear friends, place of supply would be location of such person. Friends, come on, very interesting point. Come on, what is the language we wrote there, sir? Place of supply will what, my dear friends? It will definitely be Maharashtra, since the recipient is a registered person, and obviously place of supply would be location of such person. So wherever he is registered, that's nothing but Maharashtra. Clear, right? Come on. Let's take one more example here to give complete clarity, guys. Listen. So let's say there is one person called Mr. Prasad. This Prasad is basically an unregistered person. This Prasad is basically an unregistered person in, let's say, Karnataka. And he owns an Audi car. Clear, my difference? He's unregistered person, but still he owns Audi car. Now you might get one doubt. So he's unregistered. How is he having Audi car? Such a big car. Possible, sir. Possible. Why possible? Possibility is because Prasad is an employee in Infosys at a salary of 1 crore per annum. Come on, my dear friends. What is the language I wrote, sir? Mr. Prasad is an unregistered person in Karnataka because he is an employee in Infosys at a salary of 1 crore per annum. And employees, there is no need for registration, because we all know the concept very clearly that whenever we talk about section 7 2A read with schedule 3, in that first point we learned very clearly that services by employee to employer in the course of employment. Services by whom, sir? Employee to employer in the course of employment. On that GST will not apply, because it is neither a supply of goods nor a supply of service. So on this salary, even though salary is 1 crore rupees, still there is no question of GST. Even though salary is 1 crore rupees, still there is no question of GST, my dear friends. Clear, right? Now listen. Now what has happened? He owns a car called Audi car. Now, in that car, he went for vacation to Goa. Come on, my dear friends, what he has done, sir? In that particular car, what he has got, he went for vacation to where, my dear friends? Goa. Now what has happened? Interesting episode now. In Goa, car started giving trouble. That means there is some repair. Clear, my dear friends? Now, there are two possibilities, my dear friends. Possibility number one. Situation 1, my dear friends. See here. Situation 1. Prasad has taken his car. Prasad has what, my dear friends? What he has done, my dear friends? Prasad has taken his car to Audi authorized service center. What service center, my dear friends? Audi authorized service center in Goa. Come on, my dear friends. Prasad has taken the car to what, my dear friends? Audi authorized service center in Goa. And then repair done. And the bill worked out to, let's say, some 10,000 rupees. Clear, right? Now, interesting point is that for this, my dear friends, for this particular transaction, place of supply will be Karnataka, my dear friends. Place of supply is not Goa, but place of supply is Karnataka. But why? But why? That is an interesting point, right? So the whole logic is very clear, my dear friends. Section 12.2 is basically general rule, and 12.2 will come into picture. One more time I repeat, 12.2 will come into picture for services which are not covered by 12.3 to 12.14. For services not covered by 12.3 to 12.14, we'll apply 12.2 general rule. Now what is the answer for general rule? Law clearly told that if recipient is a registered person, then place of supply will be location of such person. However, if recipient is an unregistered person, recipient is what, my dear friends? Unregistered person, then what they told in the law is, if address on record exists, then place of supply will be location of recipient. Now in this particular case, please observe, my dear friends, Prasad has taken his car for servicing to where? Audi authorized service center. That means it is a company owned service center. Now when it is company owned service center, already in Audi records, address of Prasad will be there. Already in Audi records, I repeat one more time, already in Audi records, address of Prasad will be there. Now what address is there? Karnataka address is there. No doubt about it. Already in Audi records, address is there. And what address is there? Karnataka address is there. So law clearly told place of supply will be Karnataka because it's location of recipient. So my dear friends, what law told is that place of supply would depend based on whether address on record exists or address on record does not exist. Exist means it should already be there. And if you look at Audi authorized service center, it's a company service center. So obviously in their records, address of Prasad is already there. And that too, what address will be there? Obviously Karnataka address will be there. Correct, right? So place of supply will become Karnataka. So that is why I told, don't underestimate place of supply. Especially place of supply for services will take some sweet time because there is so much of depth involved here. No compromise at all. Next. Other side. Situation 2. Prasad has taken his car to a local service center, to local what, my dear friends? Service center, which is, let's say, Raj Motors. And this Raj Motors is basically all brands service center. Like that we'll find now, my dear friends, all brand service center. Exactly. He has taken his car to all local service center, that is Raj Motors, which is all brand service center. Clear, friends? An interesting point is that Raj Motors is registered person in Goa and repair done. And when the repair is done, bill came to 7,000 rupees. Obviously, when you get in showroom, when you get repair done in showroom, the bill will be different. And when you get the repair done in local shop, obviously bill will be different. I repeat one more time, friends. When you get the repair done in showroom, the bill is different. And when you get the repair done in local shop, obviously bill will be different, my dear friends. So we got the repair done and bill worked out to how much, my dear friends? 7,000. Now tell me, friends, in this particular transaction, what will become place of supply? Come on, speak out. Place of supply will definitely become Goa. Obviously for a simple reason and fact that on the records of Raj Motors do not have address of Prasad. But when Raj Motors went to But when Raj Motors went to Audi Authorized Service Center, in the records of Audi Authorized Service Center, already address of Prasad is there. And that too, what address will be there? Karnataka address will be there. That is why place of supply is Karnataka. But if Prasad has taken car to a local service center, Raj Motors will obviously not have address of Prasad. I repeat one more time, Raj Motors will obviously not have address of Prasad. In that case, my dear friends, place of supply will directly become Goa. That is location of supplier. So friends, to highlight once again, sir, we are looking at something called section 12.2. 12.2 is basically general rule, which clearly says provisions of 12.2 will apply for those services which are not covered by 12.3 to 12.14. I repeat one more time, friends. Provisions of 12.2 will apply only for those services which are not covered by 12.3 to 12.14. And 12.2 general rule clearly says, if the recipient is a registered person, then place of supply will be location of recipient. But whereas if the recipient is unregistered person, then what will happen, friends? If it's unregistered person, what will happen? Come on. If address on record exists, then place of supply is location of recipient. But by any chance, if address on record does not exist, then place of supply is location of supplier. Such a great point, my dear friends. Very, very important. No doubt about it. Clear, right? Come on. Take this example. Extremely important point. Please do write. First take 12.1. 12.1 says only one line. 12.1 says provisions of 12 will apply only when location of supplier and location of recipient, both of them are in India. Clear, right? Come on, friends. 12.1 says what, sir? Provisions of 12 will apply only if location of supplier and location of recipient both are in India. Obviously, sir. Because if one of them is outside India, then 12.1 will not come into picture. 13 will come into picture. If both are in India, then only 12 will apply. If one of them is outside India, then 13 will come into picture. Clear, right? Come on. Take 12.2 also now. 12.2 clearly says provisions of section 12.2 would apply for services which are not covered. Which are not covered under 12.3 to 12.14. So if they are not covered by 12.3 to 12.14, then only we will apply 12.2. If not, there is no question of applying 12.2. And what is the answer for 12.2, friends? If recipient is a registered person, if recipient is what? A registered person, then place of supply will be location of such person. But whereas if the recipient is unregistered person, then what is the story, friends? If address on record exists, then place of supply will be location of recipient. But whereas if the address on record does not exist, then place of supply will be location of supplier. Such an interesting point, friends. Clear, right? Good. Now please take this example, friends. I gave two examples. Example 1 was a case where receiver is a registered person, and example 2 is a case where receiver is an unregistered person. Because if recipient is a registered person, the answer for place of supply is different, and if recipient is unregistered person, then again the answer for place of supply is different. That is why I gave both of them separately, sir. So example 1 very clearly is a case where receiver is a registered person. I'm waiting for you, so please do write quickly. Come on. Last 1 minute, finish off. And in this case, my dear friends, place of supply became Maharashtra because receiver is a registered person. If recipient is a registered person, then place of supply will be location of such person. That's all. That is why the answer became Maharashtra, sir. Clear, right? Done. Next, moving forward, take this example 2 also, my dear friends. Very wonderful and crazy example. And example 2 is actually even more interesting. Example 2 is even more interesting because example 2 clearly deals with the concept where receiver is a unregistered person. And if receiver is an unregistered person, if address on record exists, then place of supply is location of recipient. And if address on record does not exist, then place of supply will be location of supplier. Come on friends, please finish up writing. I'm just waiting for you. So this example 2 clearly applies in case where receiver is an unregistered person. So bottom line of the concept is very clear that if receiver is a registered person, then place of supply will be location of such person. And if receiver is an unregistered person, then place of supply will be based upon whether address on record exists or not. And if address on record exists, then place of supply will be what, my dear friends? Location of recipient. And if address on record does not exist, then place of supply will be location of supplier. Take the answer, come on. Please take it, my dear friends. Come on, finish off writing. Something important. So can I proceed and move forward? Done. Let me proceed then. That's all. This is the end of story for this beautiful section called 12.2, my dear friends. And what does 12.1 say? 12.1 clearly says provisions of section 12 will apply when the location of supplier and location of recipient, both of them are in India. And 12.2 is basically the general rule which says that if recipient is a registered person, then place of supply will be location of such person. And if recipient is an unregistered person, what is the answer then? If address on record exists, then place of supply is location of recipient. And if address on record does not exist, then place of supply is location of supplier. Very interesting language, friends. No doubt about it. Clear? Done. Next, my dear friends, let me discuss with you something very interesting, my dear friends. Section 12.3, and this is one such section which generally keeps coming in the exam and which basically talks about services in relation to immovable property. Services in relation to what, my dear friends? Immovable property, including accommodation service. That means accommodation in hotels or guest house or clubs, something like that. So service in relation to what, my dear friends? Immovable property including accommodation. Now what is that story? Please listen. So let's say there is somebody called Mr. Kohli. Now Kohli contacted one person called Mr. Malhotra. Kohli contacted a person called Mr. what, my dear friends? Malhotra. Now let's say Kohli is a registered person in Delhi and Malhotra is a registered person in Maharashtra. And Kohli contacted Malhotra to basically seek some architect service. So what Kohli has done is, let's say Kohli has paid some 2 crore rupees. Kohli paid how much, my dear friends? 2 crores to take architect service from Mr. Malhotra in relation to a house to be constructed, in relation to a house to be constructed in Punjab, my dear friends. So basically what is happening very clearly is that Kohli contacted Mr. Malhotra. Kohli contacted whom, my dear friends? Mr. Malhotra, who is a top architect and Kohli paid Malhotra 2 crores. I repeat one more time. Kohli paid whom, my dear friends? Kohli paid Malhotra. How much he paid? 2 crores for taking designs. For taking what, my dear friends? Designs for a house to be constructed. For a house to be constructed in where, my dear friends? Punjab. I repeat one more time. For a house to be constructed in Punjab. Clear, right? Come on, friends. Sir, if you observe carefully, my dear friends, who is supplier? Supplier is nothing but Malhotra. And where is supplier? He is in Maharashtra. Now, who is the recipient, my dear friends? Recipient is nothing but Kohli. And where is Kohli, my dear friends? Kohli is in Delhi. So, supplier is in Maharashtra, recipient is in Delhi. And what is the nature of service, my dear friends? Nature of service is basically some architect service in relation to an immovable property. And for service in relation to immovable property, section 12.3 only will apply. And moreover, if you observe, where is the property, my dear friends? Property is in Punjab. Supplier is in Maharashtra. Supplier is in Maharashtra. Recipient is in Delhi. But whereas property is in Punjab. Now for this particular transaction, my dear friends, place of supply will be Punjab, my dear friends. Why? That is very important. Because law clearly told that as per section 12.3, place of supply in case of services, in relation to immovable property. I repeat one more time, my dear friends. As per which section, sir? As per section 12.3, place of supply. Come on, friends, please look at that. As per section 12.3, place of supply in case of what, my dear friends? Services in relation to immovable property shall be place where property is located, or intended to be located. Come on, friends, very, very interesting language. What is that language, my dear friends? Come on, please look at that. Section 12.3 clearly says place of supply for services in relation to immovable property shall be the place where property is located or intended to be located. Clear, right? So in this example, if you observe, where is supplier? Supplier is in Maharashtra. Where is the recipient? Recipient is in Delhi. And where is the property, my dear friends? Property is in Punjab. And place of supply automatically became Punjab. Because for service in relation to immovable property, we have got one special subsection called 12.3, which clearly says that place of supply will be the place where property is located or intended to be located. Very, very interesting language. Now, where is the property located or intended to be located? Nothing but Punjab. So my answer for place of supply will directly become Punjab, my dear friends. Very, very important language, sir. Are we clear, my dear friends? Speak out. Done. Very, very important, sir. Next. Story is not yet over. I'll tell you one special point. Special point in this section. Now, what is the special point of the section? Listen carefully, sir. Sir, Mr. Kohli, same story. Kohli contacted same person, Mr. Malhotra, and Mr. Malhotra is basically one top architect in Maharashtra, and Kohli is in Delhi. And this time in last example he paid 2 crores, but this example he is paying 5 crores. But why? That is important because Kohli is going to, Malhotra is going to give a design for a house in Dubai. Come on, my dear friends. Previous example, what was the story, sir? Previous example, the house was constructed in, where, sir? House was constructed in Punjab. So my place of supply became Punjab. Now here, what is the story? House is in Dubai. So place of supply is Dubai. This is what your brain will tell. But that is ridiculous, nonsense, atrocious. Why? Because one special point they told in the law. Now what is the special point they told? Let me explain to you very clearly, friends. Sir, what law told is that in case of service in relation to immovable property, place of supply will be the place where property is located or intended to be located. But one special point they told is that if property is located or intended to be located outside India. Come on, friends. I repeat one more time. Please listen. If property is located or intended to be located outside India, then POS would be location of recipient. Such a brilliant point they gave, my dear friends. Come on. Please look at that point. Sir, in general, I repeat one more time. Generally or in general, what is the answer for place of supply, my dear friends? As per section 12.3, place of supply for immovable property will be the place where property is located or intended to be located. Correct, right? But one special point they told in the law is that if property is located or intended to be located outside India, then place of supply will be location of recipient. So in this example, place of supply will be what, my dear friends? Delhi. Obviously Delhi, because supplier is in Maharashtra and recipient is in Delhi. So in this example, my place of supply will work out to what, my dear friends? Delhi. Such a wonderful point, my dear friends. Very interesting and important, and actually makes a lot of sense. Clear, right? Come on, friends. I repeat one more time. We are talking about which section, sir? Section 12.3. And 12.3 deals with place of supply for services in relation to immovable property, which clearly says that place of supply will be the place where property is located or intended to be located. But if property is outside India, then place of supply will be location of recipient. This is a special point. Now, friends, another example question I will ask you. Please think properly and tell. SHIVA TEJA is basically a registered person in Telangana state. Now I went to Bengaluru, and there for some official work I went to there and stayed in Taj Hotel, which is a registered person in Karnataka. Come on, friends. Taj Hotel is registered where, my dear friends? Taj Hotel is registered person in Karnataka. Correct or not, friends? Come on, please speak out. Now, if you observe very clearly, who is supplier, my dear friends? Supplier is nothing but Taj Hotel, which is the registered person in Karnataka. And recipient is nothing but SHIVA TEJA, who is a registered person in Telangana state. So what? But the question you have to understand here is that what is the nature of service, my dear friends? The nature of service very clearly is accommodation service. No doubt about it. The nature of service is accommodation. That means very clearly it is a service in relation to immovable property. So for this kind of service, my dear friends, place of supply will definitely be Karnataka. Why? Because place of supply will be the place where property is located or intended to be located. That is why, my dear friends, whenever we go to a hotel for stay, or for accommodation, hotel will always charge CGST and SGST. They never ever charge IGST. Clear, right? And why they don't charge IGST? Because logical common sense, location of supplier is in Karnataka. Place of supply also is in Karnataka, because place where property is located or intended to be located. So hotel will definitely charge me what, my dear friends? CGST and SGST. And SHIVA TEJA, me being registered in Telangana, I cannot take credit of CGST, SGST paid in Karnataka. This point already I taught you, my dear friends, but I'm just trying to explain you how do we determine place of supply. And let me clarify, my dear friends, section 12.3 clearly says that in case of immovable property, my dear friends, one more time I repeat, place of supply for service in relation to immovable property will clearly be the place where property is located, or intended to be located. That becomes place of supply. So in this particular example, place of supply became Karnataka. Getting clarity, right? So a very, very interesting point, my dear friends. Now, another special point also I'll tell. Listen carefully. Then we'll write. After that, balance points I'll tell. Listen first. Sir, what is happening here is, listen. Let's say Mr. Kohli, who is basically Delhi, Kohli contacted Mr. Malhotra, and Malhotra is basically one top architect in Singapore. Top architect where, my dear friends? Singapore. So in first two examples, Malhotra was in Maharashtra, and now I am saying a case where Malhotra is in Singapore, my dear friends, and Kohli paid him 5 crores to Malhotra, and Malhotra is going to give a design for a house in Punjab, my dear friends. Come on, my dear friends, what will become the place of supply? Place of supply is straight away Punjab, because the place where property is located or intended to be located. And let me tell you one interesting point, my dear friends. This answer I did not give by applying 12.3. I gave this answer by applying the section called section 13.4, my dear friends. Why 13.4 has come? Because 12 will apply. 12 will apply only when supplier and recipient both are in India. 12 will apply only when supplier and recipient both are in India. If one of them is outside India, then section 12 will not apply. Section 13 will apply. And in section 13.4 deals with the concept of immovable property. And there also the answer is same. That is place where property is located or intended to be located. And next line, my dear friends. All facts remaining same. All facts remaining what, my dear friends? Same. All facts remaining same. What would be place of supply? If house is in Dubai, then straight away, my dear friends, place of supply is Dubai. And this answer is coming because of section 13.4. So friends, what I am trying to teach you the concept here is that in section 12.3, what law told is that in case of service in relation to immovable property, place of supply is the place where property is located or intended to be located. But if property is located outside India, then place of supply is location of recipient. This concept they told in 12.3. But in 13.4, which is in a case where supplier or recipient, one of them is outside India, place of supply will be the place where property is located or intended to be located. And if property is located outside India, place of supply is outside India. That's all. So wherever property is located, that becomes place of supply. That means whatever special point I just taught you here, saying that if property is located or intended to be located outside India, then place of supply is location of recipient. Like this one special point I told you, right? This special point is there only in section 12 and not in section 13. Special point is not there in section 13 at all. I repeat one more time, friends. In section 13, we don't have this special point. That means in section 13, always the answer is what, my dear friends? Place where property is located or intended to be located. Very, very interesting and extremely important concept, friends. Clear, right? Come on. Please take this, come on. Don't relax now. Please start writing. Story of 12, 3, sir. So that is why I told, some of them are thinking in brain now, sir, this is very tricky, sir. That is what I clearly told. Very tricky, but very amazing. And that's what I clearly told you also. That is, goods will not take much time, but service will take some sweet time, because service is intangible in nature and there are so many minute, intricate points in the concept of services. So we need to learn them very clearly, which will definitely take some sweet time. No doubt about it. Come on, write down. So place of supply is very clearly what, my dear friends? Place where property is located or intended to be located. And here, even though supplier is in Maharashtra, receiver is in Delhi, since property is in Punjab, the place of supply will be Punjab, my dear friends. Come on, please take it. So are we done? Can I scroll it? So friends, here even though supplier is in Maharashtra, receiver is in Delhi, still place of supply became Punjab, because place of supply will be the place where property is located or intended to be located. That is the most important point. Done. I'll move forward. Next, take this special point, come on. Take this very, very interesting and important special point, which is there only in 12 but not in 13, which clearly says that, what, my dear friends, if property is located or intended to be located outside India, then place of supply will be location of recipient. Very interesting point, friends. If property is located or intended to be located outside India, then place of supply will be location of recipient. Very, very interesting and important language, my dear friends. And by the way, when 12 will come, when 13 will come, 12 will apply only when supplier, recipient, both of them are in India. But by any chance, if one of them is in outside India, then 12 will not come into picture. Section 13 will come into picture. And 12 or 13, both cases, the concept is same in this particular immovable property. But the difference is that special point what we have here, it's not there in section 13. That you have to observe. Can I move forward? Take another example. Take another example. This example I gave you to give clarity of thought on accommodation service. That section 12.3 applies for service in relation to immovable property, including the accommodation service. Clear? Can I move forward? Done. Take this last example also. Then I can proceed. So the difference you have to observe is that if house is in Dubai, still the answer for place of supply is Dubai only, because 13.4 it doesn't matter whether property is in India or property is outside India. Clear, friends? Come on. So before I discuss next any special point, let me discuss some questions on this point. Then only I'll discuss some special points on this. Come on, friends. See this multiple choice question once. Come on, please concentrate. Real estate agent in Delhi charges brokerage fee to company A located in Chandigarh for getting assistance in getting a commercial property in Kolkata. So this is clearly service in relation to immobile property. So what is place of supply then? Karnataka. So in Kolkata. Section 12.3, my dear friends. Because place of supply in relation to immobile property will be the place where property is located or intended to be located. Next. Let's look at, come on friends, see this example 6. Mr. Amit of Chennai has a property in Delhi and avails architect services from Mr. B of Bengaluru. Availed architect services from whom, sir? B of Bengaluru. What is the POS then? POS would be Delhi as supplier and recipient, and the property are located in India. However, if the property is located in US, property is located where, my dear friends? US. Property is located in US. What will happen, my dear friends, then? POS would be not Chennai. Chennai is not the answer. POS would be Delhi, as that is the location of recipient. Sorry, Chennai, right? He is in Chennai and he has a property in Delhi. This is important. What a wonderful point, friends. See that, come on. Amit of Chennai has a property in Delhi. Exactly. I was reading it as Amit of Delhi. Yeah. Amit of Chennai has a property in Delhi and avails architect service from B. What will happen then? Place of supply will be the place where property is located or intended to be located. That is nothing but what, my dear friends? Delhi. But if property is in US, what will happen then? Place of supply will be location of recipient. That is nothing but Chennai. This is what is the story of section 12.3, my dear friends. A brilliant question. Next. Yeah. Please look at question number 17, my dear friends. This question is an exam question which came for 4 marks in the exam. An interesting question. So please do concentrate. Mr. Mahendra Goel, what is the name, sir? Mahendra Goel, an interior decorator, provides professional services to Mr. Harish Jain in relation to 2 of his immovable properties. Determine place of supply in the transactions below as per GST law. First case, location of supplier is in Delhi, recipient is in Maharashtra, property is in New York or USA. What will happen, my dear friends? In this particular case, my place of supply in first case is Maharashtra, because I will apply 12.3, and as per 12.3, place of supply is the place where property is located or intended to be located. But But one special point what we have there is that if the property is located outside India, then place of supply is location of recipient. That is why the answer became Maharashtra. Now case 2. Supplier is in Delhi, receiver is in New York. Sir, what a great point. Supplier is in Delhi, receiver is in New York. That means what? One of them is outside India. And if one of them is outside India, section 12 will not come into picture, section 13 will come into picture. And in 13, what is the answer? 13, the answer is directly place where property is located or intended to be located. That's all. We don't have any special point there. We don't have a special point called property is outside India. All the special point is not there. So here, since supplier is in Delhi, receiver is in New York, obviously we'll apply section 13, my dear friends. Moreover, 13(4) will apply. And property is in Paris or France. So what is the answer, my dear friends? Place of supply will definitely become Paris or France. This is because of 13(4). Because 13(4) clearly says place of supply in relation to what, my dear friends? In relation to what, sir? What? Immobile property shall be the place where property is located or intended to be located. That's it. Clear, right? Very, very interesting point, my dear friends. Done. Very good. I'm sure this question gave some tremendous clarity about the concept, my dear friends. Clear, right? So that is how you have to apply the provisions of 12(3) and 13(4), then find out place of supply, my dear friends. So this is an interesting topic which is coming in exam almost every time. But also attend and keeping the exam story aside, this is something very practical. A CFL student cannot tell he don't know the concept of place of supply. It's very vital and very important on real-time basis. Clear? Done. Then question number 19 is on some other language. This requires some more concept. Done. These are the interesting points what we have in 12(3), my dear friends. But 1-2 more points to discuss in 12(3). I'll discuss that also. What is that? Let me explain, my dear friends. They clearly told another interesting point in 12(3) is that if immovable property, if what, my dear friends? Immovable property is located in, if immovable property is what, my dear friends? If immovable property is located in more than one state, if immovable property is located where, sir? Is located in more than one state, then POS would be each of the respective states. POS would be what, my dear friends? Each of the respective state. That is because there is a possibility where immovable property is in more than one state. For that, how to determine place of supply? That's what we are talking. Now what they told in the law is that if immovable property is located in more than one state, then place of supply would be each of the respective state in proportion to the value determined in the contract or agreement. In the contract or what, my dear friends? Agreement. So friends, place of supply in case where immovable property is located in more than one state will be what, my dear friends? Each of the respective state in proportion to the value determined in the contract or agreement. And next line what they clearly told is that in absence of contract or agreement, in absence of what, sir? In absence of contract or agreement, POS would be determined. In the absence of contract or agreement, POS would be determined in the manner, POS would be determined in the manner as may be prescribed. Come on friends, very interesting language. See that, sir, come on. If immovable property, what is the line, friends? First point very clearly says, if immovable property is located in more than one state, if immovable property is located in more than one state, then POS would be each of the respective state in proportion to the value determined in the contract or agreement. And next point very clearly says, in absence of contract or agreement, that means there is no contract or agreement, then it will be determined in the manner as may be prescribed. And for that purpose, my dear friends, law prescribes something called Rule 4 of IGST rules. Deals with the concept of how to determine place of supply if it is in relation to more than one property located in different state. See now, let me explain that to you very clearly, sir. See now, come on. Please see, my dear friends. 12.3 talks about service in relation to immovable property or boat or vessel. Why boat or vessel came? Sometimes we take accommodation in boat or vessel, houseboat. In Kerala, we have this concept of houseboats. Alipi and different places, we get this houseboat concept there. Now see, service directly in relation to an immovable property, including services provided by architect, interior decorators, surveyors, engineers, and other related experts or estate agents. Any service provided by way of grant of right to use immovable property, that is something like renting of property, or for carrying out or coordination of construction work, or by way of lodging accommodation by whom, sir? By a hotel, inn, guest house, homestays, club or campsite. What is campsite? When we go for trekking, we'll have that campsite by whatever name called, and including a houseboat or any other vessel. What is that houseboat, my dear friends? I clearly told you that when we go to places like Kerala and all, we will take boat on rent and we'll stay in that boat itself. Accommodation itself we'll have in the boat. Clear, right? Now see, by way of accommodation in any immovable property for organizing any marriage or reception, correct, right? We take function also on rent. We take that open gardens on rent, or matters related thereto, which could be official, social, cultural, religious, or business function, including services provided in relation to such function at such property. Sometimes along with that open place, they also give some chairs for the guest to sit. Correct or not? Now, what is the place of supply? Location at which immovable property or boat or vessel is located or intended to be located. That is the most important point. And next slide. If the location of immovable property or boat or vessel is located or intended to be located outside India, then place of supply will be what, sir? Location of recipient. I taught this to you already. Next point, important. Located in more than one state or UT. Then what is the answer? Supply of service shall be treated as made in each of the respective state or UT in proportion to the value for services separately collected or determined in the contract or agreement, and in the absence of the contract or agreement on such other basis as may be prescribed. And let me tell you, already they prescribed Rule 4, my dear friends. Let's look at what is the story of Rule 4. Important. See now. Service by way of lodging accommodation by a hotel, inn, guest house, etc. and its ancillary services, other than the case where property is a single property located in two or more contiguous states. Sir, contiguous states is something like two states are joined. I mean, there is Telangana, AP. On the border of Telangana, AP, the immovable property is there. On the border of Telangana and AP, immovable property is there. That means part of the property is in Telangana, part of the property is in AP. See now. So for accommodation in hotel, in guest house, my dear friends, we will do the apportionment. We will do the apportionment based on number of nights stayed in such property. So the story we are discussing, because if immovable property is located in more than one state, then place of supply will be each of that state in proportion to the value determined in the contract or agreement. But in the absence of contract or agreement, we'll apply rule 4. And rule 4 says, for accommodation in hotel, guest house, please apportion based on number of nights. See now, example 1 you see, a hotel chain X charges a consolidated sum of 30,000 for stay in 2 establishments in Delhi and Agra. One is in Delhi, one is in Agra, where the stay in Delhi is for 2 nights and the stay in Agra is for 1 night. 2 nights in Delhi, 1 night in Agra. The place of supply in this case is both the Union Territory of Delhi and the state of UP. Agra is in UP. And the service shall be deemed to have been provided in the Union Territory of Delhi and also in the state of UP in the ratio of 2:1 respectively. Why 2:1? 2 nights is in Delhi, 1 night is in Agra. And the value of service provided will thus be apportioned as 20,000 for UT of Delhi and 10,000 for the state of, 20,000 for UT of Delhi and 10,000 for the state of UP. That's all. So in case of accommodation in property, we are dividing based on number of nights. Next point. All other services. What is all other service? Architect, interior designing, technical consultancy, anything, including service by way of accommodation in an immovable property for organizing any marriage or reception, etc. Or supply of accommodation by hotel, inn, guest house, club, campsite, where such property is a single property located in 2 or more contiguous state, that means in between 2 states the property is located, or any service ancillary to mentioned above. Then they told, please apportion based on area of the immovable property lying in each state or UT. To give clarity, I gave an example also, don't worry. See now, there is a piece of land of area, let's say 20,000 square feet, which is partly in state S1, say 12,000 square feet, and partly in state S2, say 8,000 square feet. So one land is there in between 2 states. Site preparation work has been entrusted to T, and the ratio of land in the 2 states work out to 12:8 or 3:2. And obviously place of supply is in both S1 and S2. And the service is deemed to have been provided in the ratio of 12:8 or 3:2 in the state of S1 and S2. And the value of the service shall be accordingly apportioned between the states. That's all, my dear friends. So friends, when we talk about accommodation in the hotel, in general it is number of nights. But if it is in contiguous states, then it is based on area of the immovable property. Very interesting, sir. Finally, last one. Service by way of lodging accommodation by houseboat or vessel. Correct, my dear friends? For example, sir, you went to Kerala. In Kerala, you entered into one houseboat, and that houseboat is rotating, and it is touching Karnataka and coming back to Kerala, or it's touching Tamil Nadu and coming back to Kerala. Then law told, please apportion based on time spent by the boat. Time spent by what, sir? Time spent by the boat or vessel in each such state or UT. Time spent by boat or vessel in each such state or UT. How we will know? That is to be determined on the basis of declaration made by service provider. Service provider should tell how much time it is there in which state. Based on that, we will do the apportionment. Clear, right? Come on. See the example 3, sir. See that, come on. A company C provides service of 24 hours accommodation in houseboats, which is situated in both in Kerala and Karnataka. In as much as the guest board the houseboat in Kerala, stay there for 22 hours, but it also moves into Karnataka for 2 hours, as declared by service provider. Now, place of supply of this service is in the state of Kerala also, Karnataka also, obviously. and the service shall be deemed to have been provided in the ratio of 22:2 or 11:1 in the state of Kerala and Karnataka respectively. And the value of the service shall be accordingly apportioned. Value of the service shall be accordingly apportioned between the two states. Come on friends, interesting, important language, no doubt about it. Makes sense, right? That's all. This is what is the end of story for this beautiful discussion called what, my dear friends? Section 12, 3 which clearly says, in general, the place of supply is always the place where property is located or intended to be located. But if the property is located outside India, one special point we have there, that is, place of supply will be location of recipient. But that special point is there in 12.3 but not in 13.4. And 12.3, one more point we have just discussed is that if property is located in more than one state or UT, then place of supply will be each of the respective state or UT in proportion to the value determined in the contract or agreement. And in the absence of contract or agreement, it is determined on such other basis as may be prescribed. And it's already prescribed by rules, which says that in case where we talk about accommodation, then we'll divide based on number of nights. If it is contiguous states or for any other service, then the answer is area of the property. And for houseboat, what houseboat or vessel, what is the story, my dear friends? Time spent in the boat or vessel in each state based on the declaration made by service provider. That's all. Getting clarity, friends? That's it, my dear friends. That is the end of story. This beautiful discussion of 12.3, my dear friends. Come on, sir. What is the answer for section 12.1? 12.1 clearly says provisions of section 12 will apply only when location of supplier and location of recipient, both of them are in India. And 12.2 says general rule which will apply for services not covered under 12.3 to 12.14. What is the answer there, my dear friends? Speak out. If the recipient is a registered person, place of supply will be location of such person. And if recipient is an unregistered person, then what is the answer? If address on record exists, place of supply is location of recipient. But if address on record does not exist, then place of supply will be location of supplier. Very, very interesting point, friends. Then 12.3 deals with the concept of place of service for service in relation to immovable property. What is the answer? Place where property is located or intended to be located. And if property is located outside India, place of supply will be location of recipient. Clear, right? Friends, I really want you to have complete clarity of thought on every subsection, my dear friends. And of course, we have already done discussion about section 10 is over, 11 is over. 10 was also talking about goods, 11 also was talking about goods. But 11 is for goods imported or exported, and 10 is for place of supply of goods in general. And 12 services when both are in India. 13 for services only, but one of them is outside India. So in every point there is one special concept there, and I definitely want you to have complete clarity of thought. Clear, right? So I'll not trouble you much. Don't worry, I'll stop here because I know that brains are also slightly heated up. Because when we discuss, obviously, place of supply for services, you have to exercise your brain. Because I clearly told you that services are intangible in nature, and we have so many points, friends. And in 12 we have got 12.1 to 12.14, sir. And we are just done with 12.1, 2, 3. That's all. So still long way to go. And section 13 also is there. So place of supply will take some sweet time, but very important. Because exam also, at the same time practical also. CA final students should not just learn from examination standpoint, you should also learn from a practical standpoint. Clear, right? That's it. I'll stop here for this discussion. Balance I'll take for in next session. Next session will complete some good number of points in section 12. Clear? Done. Thank you so very much. Take care. See you all in next session. Bye-bye. Do take care.